I left Canada because it was turning, partly because it seemed to be turning into a banana republic 20 years ago. But they had these 20 years of dramatic reforms under both left of center and right of center governments that are remarkable, and there's a lot there to learn that American policymakers can take lessons from Canada, and I'll give you a couple. One is the corporate tax, and they've slashed their federal corporate tax right now to just 15%. Okay, less than half of ours. I've looked at the data closely because this is a really interesting experiment. They've chopped their federal rate to just 15. Our federal rate is 35. Canada raises as much from their federal corporate tax as we do, about 2% of GDP, at a rate less than half as high. Why? Because they slashed the rate, and multinational corporations who operate in Canada shift their profits into Canada, and they do more real investment. The Canadian economy, as you may know, has been doing very well. I mean, it's done very well over the last 20 years. In the 90s, when the left of center government started making reforms, and Dan's written about this, and a lot of people have written about this now, they slashed spending. And Keynesian economists would tell you that, oh, it's going to damage the economy, spending helps keep the economy afloat. Nonsense. That Canada started cutting real money. I mean, actual real nominal dollars they were cutting, hundreds of billions a year. The Canadian economy boomed. It didn't go into a recession, as Keynesians would say. So there's a great lesson there from Canada, both on the corporate tax side and on the spending side. I'll give you a last sort of bullet point about Canada. I mean, one of my interests at CATO has been the entire federal aid to state system. As you know, there's something like over 1,000 aid to state programs now. The federal government showers money down on the state and local governments, education, highways, and all of these 1,000 programs have tons of regulations attached that tell state and local governments what to do. It's terrible. It's strangulating the American economy and society and all these federal regulations. So the core is the spending. You cut the spending enough, and I think the state and local governments would start rebelling against the regulations more that come from Washington. So Canada cut its aid to the provinces. Canada actually only has 3 national grant programs to its local governments, just 3 block grants. One of them is the infamous Canadian healthcare system, but there's only 3 altogether. We have 1,000. So in Canada, in this country, total government spending is 2/3 federal, 1/3 state local. In Canada, it's the reverse. It's only 1/3 federal, 2/3 provincial local. And the system, it works better. The provinces compete against each other. A state like Alberta, a province like Alberta, as you know, can be much more free market and free enterprise like Texas is. Other provinces are more socialist, but hey, they can do it in a decentralized federation. I think there's a lot of interesting lessons there to learn.